Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Gina Cup. I'm the marketing manager with Aptos Solutions. We thank you for joining today's webinar, Exploring Circular Innovations in ITAD, Working Towards a Closed Loop Future. We're super excited to share results with our Circularity pilot program with you. Our team embarked on a mission to document a circular process for recycling IT assets and, try and save the world from the ever increasing amount of e-waste that's starting to accumulate. In the process, we realized that we were changing the game for the industry with circular transformation. Yes, that is a new term. We made it up. We also trademarked it, and it represents the traceability and tracking process to close the loop for recycled materials. So for instance, if you've ever wondered, what happens to my laptop when I'm done with it? Where does it go when it leaves my office? And, does my laptop have an afterlife? Well, those are all questions that circular transformation can answer. So let me introduce you to our host, Chris Ray, our Senior Vice President of Business Development, who is instrumental in uncovering the challenges our clients face that led to the development of this program. Also with us is our compliance officer and subject matter expert, Caroline Allman, who will explain how we translated the pilot program data into information that our clients are now using for their sustainability reporting. We'll have some time at the end of the discussion to answer some questions, so please enter it in the Q&A box or raise your virtual hand and I'll enable your settings so you can join the discussion and ask your questions. Without further ado, let's go ahead and turn the time over to Chris Ray.
Thank you, Gina, and good afternoon, everybody. I want to start with a quick backstory of how we started working on the circular transformation. It was about 2 years ago, we joined a supply chain innovation group, and one of our findings when working with the group was that two very large tech companies had the desire for greater transparency in reporting on electronic waste. In my role in business development, I spend most of my time talking to our clients and communicating about things that they need, and I found that they had the same desire in reporting. With this information, I started working with Caroline on how to improve our downstream reporting to address transparency issues and reporting issues. One major change was to stop commingling recycled assets so that we could report exact weights of commodities to our clients. This alone is a huge challenge and a major change to our operations teams. Now we're touching each asset and breaking down the units, which is a lot of work. But with that said, it was important for us to do so. We're very proud of the innovation, and I'm happy to say, being in BD, this has given me an edge over our competitors because this is just simply not done in the industry. Caroline will share the new process, how the new process makes her excited as well. It's one of those times that we kind of look at where we're trying to enable our clients to be heroes in their roles within a company, working toward sustainability goals in 2020, kind of 2030 lofty goals. So we look at it as kind of a blockbuster Netflix situation where if we don't want you to be a blockbuster, we want you to move forward in something new that we've changed in the industry. So now that I explained the backstory and a high-level overview of the innovation, I'd like to introduce Caroline Allman, who's our compliance officer, who made all this happen during the course of 2020. Caroline did a great job, and we were able to create the 2020 circularity report for our clients, which we will take you through. Caroline, thanks for joining me today. And can you help walk us through this innovation?
Of course. Thanks, Chris. And thanks, Gina. Part of why I personally felt that the circular transformation project was important was because I knew how hard it was to get data and tracking from companies. I was managing the network that you'll see pop up, and I can tell you right now, I have a lot more gray hairs on my head than I did when I first started at Apto, because it became quite the ordeal getting information from lower tier vendors and tracking shipments. And that was before we even needed the client level data. So it's not uncommon to see a downstream network that looks like this, especially if a company is certified to an e-waste standard and is actually tracking their materials to end of life. But in our case, we decided it was time for a change. After dealing with lower tier vendors who, like I said, were reluctant to give details on their process outputs or where those process outputs went, it made us question whether or not they should even be receiving our clients' materials. So we made the choice to streamline and really focus on the goal of circular transformation. And because the intent was transparency and traceability, our first step was to overhaul our downstream, which required us to create a list of companies that we thought could help us, and then find out who was actually willing to help.
So that leads me to two questions. First, how many vendors did we have to onboard? And did we know any of these vendors prior?
So we actually were familiar with most of the companies that we reached out to, but prior to first contact, whether it was somebody that we had met at a trade show several years ago, or even if it was somebody that had been in a network, downstream network, a tier 4, tier 5, but we, in total of all those that we reached out to, we ended up onboarding 5 new companies.
Got it. So we went from dozens of vendors to a network less than half its size. So was it hard to get them onboarded once you identified who'd be a good fit for us?
You know, it really wasn't too bad, just because we knew ahead of time what we were looking for. We knew we were going to need an unusual amount of reporting back to facilitate the new tracking and reporting that we wanted to have. And we knew that not everybody was going to be able to give it to us. So we were able to, on those first few phone calls and emails that we exchanged with the companies, tell them clearly what exactly we were going to need from them. And that allowed them to either say, yep, we're on board, we're into it, we can do it. And then others saying, that's not really where we are right now. Good on you, but we're not a good fit right now. And luckily it didn't take us that long to find and get on board, get those new tier 1s onboarded.
Got it. So once they were onboarded, what do we have to do to get the actual data we used in the reporting?
So part of onboarding, once you get the paperwork and all that kind of stuff done, you do a trial load. That's a common practice. So we were able to have a twofold benefit to those trial loads, where we were able to test and really see whether or not what we had discussed with those new companies was going to work. So luckily, as I've said, we were able to get the data back from them that proved it could work. We could track the client assets and how they were processed and those resulting raw materials. We were able to verify traceability and found out we could give that. It came back to us in a way that we could give that data back to clients. It was usable. It wasn't just fluff or a bunch of numbers that wouldn't make sense to anybody. And our next step and the next goal for us is to work on integrating carbon insetting and offsetting into the program. But for now, the Streamlined downstream network and improved reporting has been a really big success for us, and really visible in our updated map that we have, where you can see the list of companies that we're going direct to, which are precious metals. So we have a processor just for precious metals containing materials, plastics, ink and toner, batteries, non-ferrous metals, ferrous metals, and then low-end e-waste, which includes things like printers, docking stations, mice, keyboards, and other items that are heavy in plastic, but also have some circuit boards and metals. And the reason we have them separated on this new map is because they actually go to a processing partner that is close by to us, and their processes, they're able to actually report back to us the amounts of plastic, metals, and circuit boards that come out of the materials that we're sending to them that they're processing for us. So we can still track those items just as if they were coming off our own dock. And what really helped make this happen, and probably what made it happen as fast as it did, was that several years ago, the executive team decided that we were going to prioritize risk mitigation over profits for end-of-life equipment to really ensure that our clients' materials were getting processed the way they should be, and that the companies that were receiving those materials and those assets were prioritizing the safety of their communities and just the overall environment, and kept that front of mind. So this, what you're saying, is just another extension of that change of mindset.
Got it. And I touched base on this earlier in my opening, but we talked about how sorting materials in-house. What kind of changes do we have to do to operations in order to do this?
Yeah, so client materials, because we're separating them, we're not commingling like you mentioned, we're doing that anymore. So it is very uncommon to have the ability to fill an entire Gaylord with several thousand pounds or even hundreds of pounds of a single item in a day, like for instance CPUs or something. So it takes a lot more space because we're having to separate and sort by category for each client that we're doing this for. And that also requires more people. So we've had to do some hiring, which, as everyone knows, that's not been easy in the recent months, but we have we've kind of changed our strategy on that as well. And it's worked out. And even, IT even got roped into all this, and the IT team even had to make updates to our database so that as our teams are sorting these materials, they're able to be tracked in our database. And then we can reconcile all the information as it comes back from the vendors, and it's all tied together in this pretty little package that we are then able to deliver to our clients.
That's great, Caroline. I was super excited to be able to share these customized reports with our clients. A lot of them knew that we were working on this innovation because we included them in early discussions about different things that they wanted, but we also had clients that didn't know we were working on it. So when I handed these over to them, they were very excited. And the folks who didn't know brought it to their sustainability people and found out, hey, they needed this reporting in order to achieve their goals that they set. So it was a really awesome thing to see. And I think it makes us quite unique in the space.
Yeah, one of the high level diagrams that I think, I know we've gone back and forth. I'm not sure if this one was actually shared with the clients or not, but it's a good high level overview of what the circular transformation looks like. So you have, just to point out two things, like the iron-based metals that are on the top. So things like steel that came out of a server, or even a server rack that would have come out of a data center, went to a local processor of ours, then they sold the raw material to another local company who then used that to manufacture I-beams that are used in commercial construction. Then another one is plastics, which you'll see toward the bottom, which everyone's talking about plastics. It is front of mind for everybody right now, and for good reason. And because of this could be considered an opportunity or also something that makes it more difficult, but OEMs, the original equipment manufacturers, have these special blends of plastics that they use to manufacture their products. So when the plastics are coming from us or from other e-waste materials, they've got to be sent, sorted, then they get pelletized, and then they can go to a few different types of facilities to where they're used to make those special blends that the manufacturers then buy to use in their materials. So some of those things that we're seeing it get used in are items like car bumpers, new printers, and another item that we've seen in just the last few months actually is the plastic cores and receipt rolls. And this information, as you can see here, is available for all the different categories that we're shipping out. And we actually have even more information than what you see here that we were able to put into the first sustainability report that Chris mentioned that he sent out.
Yeah, so, when we look at this, the clients that got the most out of it were the clients who sent us the most material. There's a direct correlation of material volume. So I know Caroline really loves to talk about circuit boards, so I'm going to let her go into circuit boards. It's a little strange, but we love her.
So kind of you, Chris. Yes, so I do geek out a little bit on this one just because it really shows how knowledgeable companies are in what they're doing. It's not just us. We can't do this alone. And so we really rely on these companies to give us this information, and they know what they're doing. Not everybody could probably pull out this level of detail, but luckily we found one of the ones that would. So everybody knows that circuit boards, or most people know that circuit boards have precious metals in them. So that's what these processors are really looking to get. So those items on the top, the silver, gold, copper, and nickel. And then there's also some additional metals that are pulled out, and then the palladium. But then what's considered an output or a byproduct, excuse me, would be depleted slag and organic compounds. So these things are created through the actual processing of the circuit boards. And normally you would just kind of see those pushed to the side. Nobody wants to talk about them. They're the redheaded stepchild. Sorry for anyone who's redheaded or a stepchild, but that nobody wants to talk about. Let's just shove those in a corner and we'll go on about our merry way. But you can see on the bottom where we actually have the end product application for those two items. And this is really the crux of circular transformation. And our goal is to have this level of information for everything. We're really close on a lot, but we're not quite there. And as I mentioned, the byproducts, like, we're not here to greenwash data. We're not going to tell you that there's not a waste product. There's not waste that are created from the processing of some of this stuff, but it's just the nature of it. But this is really just scratching the surface of what we can do with the right partners and the right customers.
So I want to thank Caroline and Gina today for helping get this webinar so that we could share innovations with our guests. One of the things that is very important in circular transformation is volume. Since we essentially became the aggregator, volume is very important in keeping this program going. So I asked if this transformation would benefit your company in your role, please reach out because we need volume to keep it going. Also, I'd like to thank our guests for taking the time out of their day to attend this, and we'd love to speak to anybody who would like further details. So thanks very much on behalf of all three of us.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Caroline. We're going to open the time up. We have about 10 minutes left on the schedule. If you'd like to submit a question or raise your hand, we're happy to take those questions. Yes, we have a question that just came through. So someone is asking, why does it matter to me? And what's the benefit? What would be the benefit to our company?
Really, to me, the benefit is one, if their upstreams start asking for this information, they're already prepared to give them the information that they need to really be part of it. And of course, for me personally, I think this is something that goes a long way with letting your employees know where you stand and that you're have the right frame of mind, that you're trying to make a difference for the future generations. It's not just about you and profits and everything else. It's really looking out to the future and trying to be prepared for that.
Cool.
Chris, did you want to answer about what the benefit is to a company who wants to participate?
Yeah, absolutely. So the feedback I get is, there's a lot of goals in terms of sustainability for different companies that encompass everything they do. And the information that we're able to provide with this is information to help achieve those goals and to help track and make sure that they're successful in that. So we've gotten a lot of feedback from that. We've talked to some other customers who have the need for it, and hopefully we'll start doing some work with them too.
Okay, another question was 275,000 pounds, the total amount you recycled, or just what you did as the circular transformation pilot?
So that was just part of the circular transformation. That was part of the pilot. So that actually started, I think we started in August of 2020. Does that sound right? I think.
Yeah, that's about right.
So that was just what was earmarked for the program, starting in August 2020 and then to the end of December 2020.
It was just a few select clients, right?
That was, I think, actually what was done in separate from some other. So we actually did more, but it's that was actually on a top of what we did for specific clients.
Gotcha.
Okay. Another question that just came through. When you say you need more volume, what type of volume would be the most meaningful to drive this program to a greater scale?
Yeah, so just to clarify, we do about 70 to 75% of our business is reuse, and that's something that we want to encourage, obviously. But you know, that 25 to 30% of e-waste is end of life stuff that just there's no market for it. So this is what falls into that category. So enterprise equipment is ideal because it's easily broken down, laptops and desktops as well. I hope that answered that question.
Okay, another question. What are the biggest challenges? You might have already answered that in one of the other questions.
That's a Caroline question. I just saw it.
One of the answers.
Yes, I really think some of the biggest challenges, which it's right now, it's people. We need the people to be able to come in and really make it so we're efficient at doing this, to help with the tear down. And also it's the homogeneous materials, getting the, like you said, Chris, the enterprise equipment or laptops, desktops, that kind of stuff that we can really make an impact with. And also it's keeping our downstream vendors happy, because when you're going direct like that, you got to have the right mixes. So in order to get that reporting back, we want to get you got to keep them happy too. It's a symbiotic relationship.
Yeah, not only the right mix, but it goes back to that volume thing. So in the past, we were sending recycled trucks out on a regular basis. Now we're holding material because these downstream guys need much more volume. We're holding it, aggregating it, and then sending it out.
Yep.
So that's a space challenge too.
Yes. But they're all, we can overcome all the challenges. That's the nice part about it. They're not anything that is a complete stop in the road or anything. Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, we're just about at our scheduled time. If there aren't any more questions, we're going to close the webinar. We thank you for taking the time to join us today.